You know who it is. It's Lou again with the yellow jacket. We're at the ISM show in Houston, Texas, and I'm here with James Gellert, who's the CEO and president of Rapid Ratings. And this is not his first time up, and he's now complaining that he doesn't have a yellow jacket. So you have to do a couple more shows.
I wish they were more than once a year, so I could.
But I'll tell you, you're a pretty conservative guy. So
I'm ready.
Okay. So James, what's new?
Well,
what are you doing? What's happening?
It's been a very busy year for us at Rapid Ratings, riding off of the needs of clients in the supply chain world, as well as other markets that we serve.
Right.
But supply chain is a big part of our business. It's roughly half of our business. And we continue to help people understand the financial health risks of suppliers of theirs, both public and private companies from around the world. The biggest changes and news for us is that actually at this show this year we've launched a new product, which is it's an entirely new score. It's called the Health Mark, and it is the first score that we've generated that allows us to produce risk assessments of private companies globally without having their financial statements. So historically, the financial health rating, which is our core product and output, is an algorithmic assessment of how strong and financially healthy both long-term and short-term companies are. But we use private company and public company financial statements to be able to generate that.
Right.
That, of course, creates a need among our clients to really focus on the most critical suppliers because they obviously want to dedicate the budget required for our going out and getting them. Now we have the Health Mark, and the Health Mark uses a variety of metadata, so it can be payment data, it can be firmographic data, location, size of company, all of those things, and it compares it to the vast array of underlying data that we have amassed in our core business.
I don't know if you know about this. You might. The ISO standards, which we just had our ISO audit, our 25 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And they've added risk assessment. Are you aware of that? And that's a very strong point for you to use as a tool especially for those who are already ISO registered.
I agree. I think within standards, whether they are regulatorily driven or industry driven, risk is simply a more important topic than it's ever been, and it's not going away. It's become so firmly embedded in not just regulatory frameworks and industry standards, but in workflows. That said, we still bump into lots of companies at seemingly very sophisticated stages in their development that are still kind of early on the curve in developing risk management programs. So we're really working with them to try to help and get them sped up as much as possible, but really finding ways of using risk data and analytics, whether it's ours or others, certainly whether it's financial or other risk areas, and trying to tie them all together so there's more sharing of insights that come from them across different business units and functional areas and companies.
So the way your product works, it's a software component, and it's something that the user would tap into from the internet, and it's on a fee basis, I presume.
It's a subscription business, so we are a SaaS business at our core. Our clients, for the most part, are accessing our data and analytics and portfolio reports, things like that, right on our portal.
Right.
But more and more, we've developed APIs and relationships with other partners to be able to deliver our analytics and data into their own systems. So last week we announced that we are up and integrated with SAP Ariba, and companies that are here, for instance, like Risk Methods, we are integrated with, and quite a few others. So we want to make sure that whether our clients are accessing us directly or whether they have other systems that they're using as part of their risk management process, if they need and want our data, particularly if we're getting private company financials or they're now using HealthMark, we want to make sure that they're able to get that in any way possible.
So James, your product, I would assume that it's more for medium to large corporations. Is that true?
It's the weighting of our clients is more towards mid-sized to large
Right.
and mega-sized companies, but we also do have quite a few small companies that use us. And it's interesting because, particularly in supply chain, if you're a small company and you've got 25 to 50 suppliers that you consider critical, they're still critical.
No, absolutely.
If you're a mega-sized company and you've got 4,000 to 5,000 that are critical, they're critical to you. And it depends how you define criticality, of course. But we're finding that what we are doing is applicable in terms of the rating across any size company. So we're rating companies that are large and small. Our
Right.
users of those ratings tend to be mid-sized to larger, but there are certainly some smaller ones too.
When you go into a manufacturing or a business, any type of a business, and you're trying to sell the concept of risk assessment, financial risk assessment, is it a hard sell?
It depends. Sometimes it's hard in this market environment because a prospect will say, we haven't had a financial failure in our supply chain recently, and therefore we don't want to spend any more money to do any risk assessment. And sometimes that's coupled, or separately they'll say, well, we've been using payment data for years and that's fine. And there are really two problems there. One is we look forward over the next 5 years, market conditions will be very different than they've been in the last five.
Oh,
so we will
without a doubt.
We will certainly have more failures. We will have more financial stress. And we'll have more problems in non-financial areas caused by financial deterioration that people really need to get ahead of.
Right.
Because financial is a leading indicator of problems, whether it's a cyber problem, whether it's a delivery problem, a quality problem. All of these are intertwined. And payment data is just not a sophisticated enough tool to use for comprehensive risk management.
And who knows, when somebody has a good payment history, all of a sudden they took a bath on a $1 million contract and they're on the verge of going out of business.
That's absolutely right.
And you just sold them.
You
know
can very easily pay your bills all the way as you walk up the bankruptcy court steps.
Right.
So it isn't a measure that should be relied on completely. Now, that being said, so many more companies, whether the impetus is coming at the operational level or it's coming from management or from the board, risk is, as we've already said, more and more important. So we're finding that today when we walk into a prospect, they understand what we're talking about because they've been talking about it. Whether they are ready to be implementing or not is a different story. But even though there is occasionally some resistance because you get that we haven't had a failure recently problem, in general, people really understand that this is the way they've got to go. The thing that we really do promote, though, is because private companies historically have not wanted to share financial information.
Right.
We have really broken through that by promoting the transparency of that disclosure and the commercial value that comes with it. And that is something that all of our clients are utilizing, and we are performing hundreds of thousands of private company ratings, and we've recently solicited financials on behalf of our clients from our 118th country. So this is a global operation to be able to help promote that transparency. And that is something that fits very much into supplier risk management and supplier relationship management. As companies are trying to work more closely with suppliers for all sorts of reasons, using the financial disclosure, the financial analysis, not as a threat, but as a relationship building process. And that's a real key distinction, and that's something that I really feel like we've tapped into nicely.
I would imagine when you walk into a client, they say, well, we really don't need your service because we have Dun & Bradstreet. You must be happy to hear that.
Oh yeah, I love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be gold.
The only problem for them is that if they say that, they have to budget 3 more hours for me to spend with them because I've got a lot to say. But look, at the end of the day, one needs more sophistication to be able to perform risk management in a comprehensive way.
Right.
And historical ways of going about checking a box to say you've done a financial analysis, which tend to be very payment score oriented, it's just not sufficient. And being able to have the depth by using the financial statements to dive deeper into a company. That's really important. But what we've just been able to do with the health mark is be able to give a score that leverages all of the public and private company ratings that we've already done, which is now 14 million company years worth of data, and the firmographic data on any company, and be able to provide a score that shows the risk category of that company, as if we had the financials. And then for the most critical, or for the ones that are deteriorating, they can then work with us to get the financials to dive deeper. But we're now providing health marks on over 100 million private companies around the world.
Really?
And it is comprehensive, and it is integrated with the FHR system. And I think that is going to maybe they'll need me there for 4 hours, or maybe we'll get down to just a half an hour.
I'm hearing a lot of people out there in TV land or radio land that they want to know how to get in touch with you. So why don't you give them your website address or email or whichever you prefer.
Absolutely. Well, the website is www.rapidratings.com, and all sorts of contact information and demos and ways of getting in touch with us and interacting with the product and white papers and things like that are all on the site.
Good. So you have all the information, and it seems like this is something that we all need. I happen to have Dun & Bradstreet.
Well, we can talk about that.
We'll talk about it off air. Okay, thank you. James, thanks for sitting down with us and bringing us up to date with what you're doing.
Always, I appreciate it.
Thank you much.
And hopefully I'm only a couple years away from my jacket.
We can talk about, maybe we can trade yellow jackets for a subscription. You know, these are custom made.
We have to be a whole suit.
You want the pants
I
with
want
it?
the pants.
Well, I have a place down in Washington, D.C. that has this color jacket in a Hawaiian shirt style with Liberace sequins on it.
I think you're going to get health mark as well as the FHR.
Oh, and you're into that, even though you're looking rather conservative.
Well, I wouldn't wear it here.
Why not?
Actually, I'd wear it for my interview.
Okay. James, thank you very much for sitting in here, and I hope somebody reaches out and says, I want to get rid of Dun & Bradstreet.
Me too.
Thank you.